Designed and built in Singapore, a new ventilator for COVID-19 patients comes with unique features not found in conventional machines.
Stepping up the fight against dengue, the NEA will begin a 2-week intensive vector control exercise all across Singapore.
And introducing the a la carte buffet, how are diners taking to it in the absence of the traditional buffet?
Well, it's Friday, 5:30 p.m. here. Good evening. You're watching The Big Story, coming to you live from the Straits Times newsroom. I'm Haryanto Diman.
And I'm Olivia Quay. Subscribe to the Straits Times channel so you never miss a single episode.
Now we begin with the latest COVID-19 figures here. The Health Ministry confirmed 277 new cases today. Of these, 5 are community cases involving 2 Singaporeans or permanent residents and 3 work pass holders.
There were also 2 imported cases today. Migrant workers living in dormitories continue to form the majority of the rest. Singapore now has over 49,300 COVID-19 cases, and more details will be shared later.
Clinicians and engineers from SingHealth have designed and custom-built a ventilator for COVID-19 patients who require breathing support. Now dubbed SG Inspire, it has unique features not found in conventional ventilators. It uses ambient air with the option of adding low pressure instead of high pressure gas and can be operated remotely.
According to the team behind the ventilator, it can be mass-produced at speed and costs 5 times less than a standard machine. The ventilator was developed to supplement the supply of ventilators in Singapore should the need arise.
To share more on this, we have the project lead, Associate Professor Derek Chan, who's also the Director of the KK Research Centre and Deputy Director of the SingHealth Medical Technology Office.
We're also joined by Dr. Jessica Kwah, a consultant at the Respiratory and Critical Care Medicine Department at Changi General Hospital. Well, Dr. Kwah, let's start with you. How does the ventilator work for COVID-19 patients?
Patients with severe COVID-19 pneumonia may have difficulty breathing on their own. The ventilator is a medical device that will move movable air into and out of the lungs at different pressures and oxygen concentrations. This will allow the patients with severe COVID-19 pneumonia to have sufficient oxygen delivered and carbon dioxide removed for life support.
Now, Prof. Chan, let's bring you in on this discussion. How is this ventilator different compared to the ones already in the market? In other words, why is it more user-friendly than conventional ventilators?
So this ventilator is designed to supplement conventional ventilators. It's basically meant to assist with COVID pandemic situation, and essentially has the design features that it can be using a simplified interface, so people with less training can use less settings and basically still achieve the same result for patients.
Right. Well, Dr. Kwah, back to you. At what stage does the doctor decide that the ventilator is necessary? Perhaps only when the patients are in ICU?
Well, ventilators are necessary when severe pneumonia results in a dangerously low oxygen level. And this cannot be supported by conventional oxygen face masks that we have in the wards. So low oxygen levels can injure multiple body organs like the brain, the kidney, and the liver. So when patients deteriorate in the wards or in the emergency department, the ventilator device can be initiated at once. Thereafter, the patient will need to be cared for in an intensive care unit because monitoring of these life support devices require the expertise of a critical care physician, nursing and allied health team.
Now, we believe then that the ventilator is already in use. If so, how did the patients respond to the treatment, Prof?
So this is actually in the prototype phase. It's not in use in patients at this point. Fortunately, we haven't needed to put it into use, but we have been running this project essentially to be ready for the need should it arise.
Right. Well, Singapore currently has managed to keep the number of ICU patients low, and in fact, quite recently there are 0 ICU patients. So, Professor Chan, is there a market for the ventilator then in Singapore, and are there plans to export it for use overseas?
So this is designed not only for the COVID pandemic situation, but also for limited resource settings. It has the ability to be used in other countries who may be having a less positive situation than ourselves, and also in situations where they may have limited resources, and this system can actually be beneficial there, where a conventional ventilator can't be used.
Right. Well, thank you, Professor Chan and Dr. Kwa. They were sharing more about a ventilator designed and custom built by SingHealth for COVID-19 patients who require breathing support.
On to other local news. Singapore is stepping up its battle against dengue, with the National Environment Agency carrying out an intensive island-wide vector control exercise over the next 2 weeks. During a visit to Bukit Batok today, Senior Minister of State for the Environment Dr. Amy Khor observed the cleaning and flushing of drains, which have been the source of 50% of mosquito breeding in Singapore. To date, there are close to 20,000 cases this year, with a record 1,733 cases reported last week.
HDB resale transactions fell by 41.9% in the second quarter in light of circuit breaker measures, with some 3,400 flats sold. Transactions in the HDB rental market also took a hit, dropping by 9.1%. However, private home prices edged up 0.3% in Q2, bucking the 1.1% decrease in the Urban Redevelopment Authority's flash estimates earlier this month. Prices of non-landed properties rose 0.4% from the first quarter, while landed property prices remain unchanged.
A former Deputy Group Director at the Land Transport Authority was charged today with corruption involving $1.24 million in loans. Henry Fu Yung Tai, who had debts due to a gambling habit, allegedly obtained gratification in the form of loans from LTS contractors and subcontractors between 2014 and 2019. 6 people and a company who provided Fu with the loans to advance their business interests were also charged. In total, Fu faces 36 charges. His bail was set at $250,000.
Good evening, guys. I'm Dylan Ang. Let's take a look at the headlines from around the world. There were long queues on the causeway outside the Johor Bahru checkpoint yesterday as Malaysians rushed home to avoid quarantine in designated facilities. Malaysian authorities announced earlier this week that those returning will have to serve a 14-day quarantine period at hotels or quarantine centres and will have to bear the full costs of the stay. And those who return by Thursday will still have to serve quarantine but can do so at home, provided they test negative for COVID-19 upon arrival. In Thailand, criminal charges have been dropped against the heir to the Red Bull energy drink fortune, who was accused of a 2012 hit-and-run incident that killed a police officer. Royal Youth Yuvidya was accused of crashing his black Ferrari into a policeman on a motorcycle in Bangkok and fleeing the scene, dragging the officer's body for several dozen meters. An Israeli company is developing a coronavirus breathalyzer test that can give results in 30 seconds. The company, NanoSense, said an extensive trial in Israel for the presence of live virus delivered results with 85% accuracy, and that the product could receive regulatory approval within months. NanoSense CEO said that the breathalyzer would not replace lab tests, but was a mass screening tool that could help people gain the confidence to go back and act as normal. And more bad news for movie fans. Walt Disney has postponed the debut of its movie Mulan indefinitely and delayed the next film installments of Avatar and Star Wars by a year. Mulan was originally scheduled to reach theatres in March, but its release has been postponed several times in light of the pandemic. The Avatar sequel is now set to debut in December 2022 and the next Star Wars movie in December 2023. And those are what's making headlines around the world. It's back to you guys in the studio.
Well, thanks so much, Dylan. And I was really looking forward to watching Mulan as well. Well, slim pickings at the cinema means, of course, operators are having a hard time attracting audiences. And I'm curious, Jan, are restaurants also finding it difficult to keep diners with buffets still off the table during phase 2? Are you missing buffets actually?
I am actually. I look forward to buffets simply because you get a wide array of choice, right? And it's the whole experience, I suppose, of just being able to pick the food that you get, and also as much as you want. But the thing is, of course, then there's always, oh, am I choosing enough to kind of like make it worth
worth your money, exactly. Well, unfortunately, gone are the days of buffets as we know it. No more seeing all that a restaurant has to offer laid out on those chafing dishes.
Instead, we're seeing a la carte buffets where diners order whatever they want from a menu for one price, and the food is served to the table. Beach Road Kitchen at JW Marriott also has roving chefs who go around the restaurant with trolleys laden with cheeses, desserts or hot dishes.
So how are diners responding to a la carte buffets? Joining us to share more is senior food correspondent Wong Ah Yoke.
Yes, a story on in this weekend's Sunday Times on this very topic. Ayuk, have diners embraced the different ways in which restaurants interpreted the buffet concept?
Yes. Some restaurants have already reopened, the former buffet restaurants, but as you know, buffets are still not allowed. So what these restaurants have done is they have come out with a slightly different concept where you can still order as much as you want, but the food is served to you instead of you helping yourself. And from the responses of the restaurants that the Sunday Times talked to, they seem to be doing well. Over the last weekends, a lot of them have been full or about 80% full. But having said that, we have to be aware of the fact that because of social distancing, a lot of the restaurants have reduced their number of seats as well.
Right. Well, one of the pluses of a buffet is the diner's freedom to move around and pick your own food. Given that more service staff, though, are needed in an a la carte buffet, are restaurants perhaps seeing an increase in the labor cost?
Yeah, I talked to some of the restaurants. That's what I thought too. But surprisingly, most of them say that actually their costs have remained the same, mainly because the number of seats have been cut down. So instead of serving like 160 customers, they just need to serve 80. So because of that, they could still manage to run the business without adding more manpower. And also, what a lot of the restaurants have done is that they sort of restructure the work of the staff. So instead of just doing one job, now maybe they do different jobs in order to handle taking orders, serving. Yeah, so according to them, it hasn't really added very much to their cost. And a lot say that it's actually the same cost.
Do you think also that restaurants are able to save money or use it for other means because they waste less food by, doing away with a traditional buffet model?
Yes, I think that's one of the advantage that there's less wastage. So it's not just a matter of cost; it's also about like saving on food wastage, which was one of the big problems of buffets in the past. So now actually we don't have the problem anymore. And another advantage is that because the food is cooked a la minute, it's cooked only when the customer orders it. And it's cooked in small amounts, and it actually tastes better because it's served piping hot, straight from the stove. So that's one of the advantages, actually.
Now that said, do you think then a la carte buffet of sorts or other dining models will stay beyond COVID-19, or will the traditional buffet style of dining return?
Okay, right now, everybody is sort of waiting for the government's directive when actually buffets can restart. But what I myself think is that it won't happen in a long time. They allow full dining capacity. They might not be able to provide enough manpower, so they might want to go back to the old style of self-service. But I think customers are not ready for that. Even when they reopen self-service, I think customers will not accept that so readily. So if the demand is not there, I think restaurants will just have to continue with this a la carte buffet model.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you so much, Ah Yoke, for coming on to the show to speak with us. And that was senior food correspondent Wong Ah Yoke on this new normal for buffets. Now look out for his piece in the Sunday Times.
StraitsTimes.com is the place to go for more news and videos, and subscribe to our YouTube channel by hitting the red button below.
Once again, I'm Haryanto Diman with Olivia Kwe. Have a good weekend and we will see you next week.